A woman is behind bars this morning accused of shooting up a drive-thru at McDonald's late last year. 32-year-old Samantha Anthony is accused of shooting into a drive-thru window of a McDonald's on South Laredo Street back on December 30th, 2023. Now, according to an arrest affidavit, she had a problem with her order and shot 8 times through the glass of a window in the pickup line. Fortunately, no employees or customers were hurt.
What you don't see on camera was right before this, the customer threw her hot drink on the Starbucks employee. Miami police were inside moments later. The woman eventually left and the store locked their doors to clean up the mess.
Good evening and welcome to It's Too Late, where I like to say it's never too late to figure out how to mitigate, so that you don't spend life behind bars, And what I mean by that is, well, you could move to a place like those ladies where you won't be prosecuted and you could just do all kinds of crazy stuff and never get in trouble. But really the best thing you can do is to make sure you don't have a friend around you that's chirping in your ear, hey, everybody does it.
The pandemic ended, the Internal Revenue Service says it is still seeing fraudulent tax returns. The Employee Retention Credit was one of the many CARES Act pandemic assistance programs aimed at keeping workers. The IRS office out of Cincinnati says one of the most common types of fraud was fabricating businesses or employees and claiming unearned credits. This has cost the federal government millions of dollars. Now, as of February, the IRS conducted 1,600 COVID fraud audits, totaling $8.9 billion. 795 people have been indicted with prison sentences, if convicted, averaging just under 3 years. The IRS conviction rate for COVID fraud cases is 98.5%. It's even higher here in Ohio.
As of March of this year, 22 people have been indicted for their alleged COVID-related crimes, and 16 of those individuals were sentenced to an average of 22 months in federal prison. So here in Ohio, we actually have a conviction rate of 100%.
The IRS is hiring more agents to investigate, to identify people taking advantage of COVID-19 programs.
Wow, the government's really mad at all those people, that took the PPP loan and then they marked that thing on their taxes and they probably maybe got thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And you know what? They knew they were doing something wrong, those people did. They knew they were defrauding the government and they thought they could get away with it. That's my presumption. They didn't think that what they were doing was constitutionally protected. They didn't think that they were, they knew they were criminals. But what I'm getting at is you just never know anymore because it's strange. You could be doing something that could be totally criminal and you don't realize it. And next thing you know, you're going to jail for years. But you could be being a criminal and actually not go to jail at all. If you're a certain kind of criminal, that's just the way it is. But sometimes, we all know the arc of justice takes time. Occasionally, they get it right.
Tonight, we got our hands on an interview done with Garrett Foster the night he died. And in it, the interviewer asks him about his weapon.
Tell us a little bit about your gun again. It's AK-47.
Through a laser scan of 4th and Congress, Jason Evans, a forensic engineer, was able to create a 3D rendering of 4th and Congress. And through a series of 5 photos and videos taken the night of July 25, 2020, he created a recreation of the incident, starting with Perry turning into the crowd of protesters.
Mr. Perry starts off initially at 11.9 miles per hour, starts to deaccelerate or slow down to the apex of the turn to 9.8 miles per hour, and then continues to slow down until he comes to a stop.
Evans was also able to give a rendering of how close Foster might have been standing to Perry's driver's side door before Perry shot and killed him.
We were able to show and accurately know that at a tenth of a second before the first shot fired, that Mr. Foster was 18 inches from the driver's door.
Governor Abbott issued a full pardon after the Board of Pardons and Paroles had a unanimous vote. Perry was released from prison Thursday. The pardon of Daniel Perry comes after Abbott directed the board to review the case. Perry had been sentenced to 25 years in prison after being convicted in 2023 for the murder of Garrett Foster.
Daniel was thrilled and elated. We always believed this day would come.
Foster was an Air Force veteran who had been legally carrying an AK-47 while marching in a Black Lives Matter protest in July of 2020. Perry was working as a rideshare driver when he turned his car onto a street crowded with demonstrators and shot Foster before driving off.
My son is never going to have justice now, and I can't live with that. He deserved so much better than what he's getting.
Perry's attorney, Doug O'Connell, says this is an expert reenactment that the jury didn't see, but the pardon board did.
This video evidence that was not admitted in trial shows that a bullet from an AK-47 easily goes through a soft-skinned car door. It's very, very reasonable for him to have perceived that that barrel was pointed at his body and he only had fractions of seconds of time to react.
Garrett was not a threat, ever. The only thing that happened is Daniel Perry ran through a red light into a crowd of people. And they say the car was swamped. No, the car was not swamped. He didn't even have to stop his car, because as soon as he ran that red light into those people, they scattered.
Abbott saying Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws.
In Texas law, when you're threatened with unlawful force, you do not have a duty to run away.
But Foster's mother disagreeing with the reasoning.
It was all proven false in trial. It's all lies.
She and Travis County DA Jose Garza saying the decision was political.
And this is the governor of Texas, who is all about Second Amendment rights and open carry, and he's basically saying my son deserved to die for open carrying.
And Perry's attorney says they'll discuss next week what he wants to do going forward and whether he wants to rejoin the military. In downtown Austin, Angela Shen, Fox 7 Austin News.
Well, that's very controversial, but I'm glad that man was released from prison. He didn't turn onto that road that day with the intention of killing a protester. He was fearing for his life. Maybe the protester was fearing for his life. Either way, if you're going to carry, which I do, if you're going to open carry, you most certainly can never be confrontational or involve yourself or interject yourself in any type of confrontation, because you can see what will happen.
This is in downtown Houston. The winds were 100 miles per hour as they quickly roared through this major American city. A thunderstorm so fierce it produced wind gusts that blew out some of the skyscraper windows. But it wasn't flooding, it was high winds in excess of 100 miles an hour above hurricane strength that took the bricks off the side of this building right here.
Nearly 1 million people were without power just after hurricane-force winds tore through Houston.
The destruction here is widespread all across the city. Unfortunately, 4 people were killed during those severe storms on yesterday. And we're still without power, and that could be the case for a couple of weeks for people here in the city of Houston, and I'm going to show you why. Take a look at this. Now, this is a transmitter. These transmission towers, the winds came through so strong that it bent the towers all the way back to the ground, and it's not just this one. Let's look across the interstate. There are a couple of other towers in the same condition, bent completely over from those strong winds, and people say they didn't have much time between the severe storm warning to find safety and the destruction of yesterday's storms. Crews are out today assessing the damage after a line of thunderstorms with winds as high as 100 miles per hour blew out the windows of high-rise buildings, toppled transmission towers, and killed people trying to take cover. Officials say at least 2 of the people who lost their lives during the storm were killed by falling trees, and a 3rd person was killed by a falling crane. People here say they've endured storms in the past, but this was one of the worst.
So it crushed the car, the roof. I got holes in the roof, my front porch, the side of the house. Tore down wires. We've survived 2 hurricanes, Ike, and what was it, Rita maybe, and also Harvey, and one little storm, and here we are.
a wall of wind and rain. It takes a while for them to get to all the houses that don't have power, so I'm not expecting it to come on anytime soon.
Non-essential downtown workers were asked to stay home today because of the glass littering the street from those high-rise buildings. But the biggest concern from people is not having power. ERCOT has said that could continue for another couple of weeks. And next week, we could see temperatures here in Houston in the 90-degree area. So there are some concerns for people who do not have electricity.
Okay, you guys, and here's the solution to your problems. If you have a power outage, you just go right outside into your box truck, okay, and it's perfectly climate controlled and it's off grid. Right now we're plugged into the grid, but we can just very easily, watch this, you guys, look at that, just like that, we switch it off and we're perfectly good to go, because what we have is what are called lithium-ion batteries. I use Victron and Battleborn equipment. So that's how you do it, you guys. You get yourself a hobby, and you make your hobby something to do with off-grid living. And that way, when the grid goes down, you can keep living. But what I suggest is to make sure that it has art. You know, sculptures you've made. Whoa, whoa. You want to have everything you need to make it feel like home, so that when the power goes out and you have to go into your box truck, that's just like home. It's too late. All right, so let's call it a night. Thank you so much for being here. We can stay prepared. We can have fun being prepared. And I want to thank you again for being here tonight. And if you're around tomorrow morning, Bad Apple Report, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Otherwise, we'll see you right here tomorrow night for It's Too Late at Home on the Range. Thanks for watching, folks.